Good morning, everyone. Leah Dixon from Port Coquitlam, British Columbia. I am here live this morning for my weekly card class to go. This week I am featuring the Circle Sayings stamp set and the 2 3/8 inch circle punch. They come together as a bundle from Stampin' Up! And the cool thing about buying them as a bundle is you actually get them 10% off when you buy them together bundled. Good morning, Kim. Thanks for joining. So I'm super excited about this card class. I've played with this stamp set a lot, actually. I've used it for team meetings and, oh, good morning, Nancy. And I've used it for In Color Club and stuff like that. And so I just love this stamp set, but I've actually put it together with the Bright and Beautiful DSP today and created some softer, really kind of fun beachy cards. Good morning. It just says Facebook user, but thanks for joining. And I'll be able to see who it is later when I go into Facebook. All right, so I'm going to switch over just to my desktop and we are going to get started. So I am using quite a few blends, more blends than I normally would use on today's cards. I have my Lemon Lolly, Lost Lagoon, Balmy Blue, Bubble Bath, and then the Bronze and Ivory combo. And we're going to use those to color in our images today because we've got some sweet little images here in our Circle Saying set. And then I also just absolutely love the sentiments that are in this and the font, that kind of like big loopy script. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. So I'm going to put these things off to the side and pull in our first card. So our first card uses Lemon Lolly as a background, as our card base. And this was a color that, like, I'm not often a yellow person, but this Lemon Lolly yellow is just so happy. It's hard not to love it. So I'm actually just going to bring in here the piece of DSP that we're using from the Bright and Beautiful DSP pack. So this is a 6x6 pack. And actually, let's see, I have it right here beside me. And it's probably, when you're looking at these patterns, it's not what you've been thinking of, because lots of people are using the brighter colors and the stripes from this set. And like I've seen a lot of cards with this fun little thing, and I've used this piece in some other stuff. But today I'm actually using the softer side of this paper. So we've got our big bold stripes and bright colors and berry burst and everything in there. But then we also have the softer side. So I've used the softer side of this DSP for this card, this Lemon Lolly. And we're going to just have some fun creating that. So when you get a card kit from me, you actually get enough stuff to make 2 of each card. In the packet I'm using today, there's just one. I've already used one set to create our samples for us. Actually, I'll set that off to the side there. So here's the stuff to make one. So we've got our Lemon Lolly card base, and that's not really folded quite nicely. So I'm just going to grab my bone folder and fold that flat. There we go. You're going to find that you have 2 pieces of basic white cardstock. One of them is going to be for our card front. One of them's for our insides. So I'm actually just going to go ahead. I'm all about getting things out of the way. So I'm going to go ahead and glue one of these pieces right to the inside of our Lemon Lolly card base. So here we go. All right. And so I do like to use my liquid glue because then I can kind of wiggle things and get them straight. There we go. All right. So with that done, we're now going to put together our base. So with the Lemon Lolly, I've paired it up with some soft seafoam. So you're going to have 2 pieces here, one embossed and one not embossed, and we're going to glue these onto a piece of basic white cardstock. So this one that's embossed is embossed with one of the 3 embossing folders that you get in the Basics 3D embossing folder pack. Now, if you've got a new catalog, you might be going, well, I didn't see that in the catalog. And that's because Stampin' Up! Has started to offer these things called online exclusives. And so they are products that are awesome, but that are not in the catalog and won't ever be in a catalog. So here, I'll just take a moment and show you, although they don't show up as nicely when you're seeing the folder itself. So we've got this one here that is these giant dots. We've got the one that I'm currently using, which is like this rosette piece. So you can see the paper there a bit better than the actual folder. And then our last one in the pack is like this kind of like sketchy, scratchy kind of background. And so we are using those today for our cards. So I've got a piece here that I've just glued down, and I just made sure to keep an equal border on 3 of the sides. Now, this piece I am going to glue down, but before I glue it down, I'm actually going to do my stamping. That way, if I mess it up, I can flip it over. And I'm just stamping in Basic Black. You could stamp this in Lost Lagoon. I think it would also look quite nice, but I just wanted it to kind of be a little bit bold. I know, Kim, that trio of embossing folders is fantastic. All right, so Because You're Awesome, really a card to send to so many of my friends. So we've got Because You're Awesome, and I just stamped it in that lower left corner. And now I'm going to glue this onto my piece of basic white. Yeah, I love that trio. And so it's online only. So when you're placing your order, you can type in Basics 3D embossing folder, or you can just click the picture that's in my blog post, or click the link that's in the description of this. Oh, maybe it's actually not on this one because I send you these pieces pre-embossed. But on my blog post later today, you'll see the other materials that I use to prep your kits, and this is one of them, and the link is there. But yeah, so it's not in our catalog, but it's still wonderful. All right, so with those 2 pieces, and they just slightly overlapped, now we're going to take our piece of DSP and place this on here. Now, where you place it is really going to be your personal preference of, like, do you want it right up high and give your sentiment lots of space? I personally am using it to cover the line between the embossed and not embossed, and also to put out an equal border on my sentiment. So depending on kind of where you stamped your sentiment on your cardstock, you're just going to place this so that it's appealing to you. So let's see, I'm just going to hold that up a bit. That's what looks good to me. All right. So now that we have all those layers attached to each other, we're going to add some ribbon. You've got 2 ribbons in your pack. They're both almost exactly the same length. Oh, hi. Thanks for joining. So we're just partway through our first card. I've just glued some cardstock to some cardstock. So you can see that it doesn't matter which ribbon you use because they're both long enough. But what you want is you want a piece of ribbon that's long enough to be able to tuck around the back sides. So I'm just going to leave that there as a general key for where to put my adhesive. And then I'm going to use some dry adhesive. You could use glue dots, tear and tape, Seal Plus. It doesn't really matter as long as it's a very quick grabbing dry adhesive. And I'm tucking that ribbon into that dry adhesive, pulling it straight across and tucking it in on the other side. All right, so that's what we've got now, is it's just kind of attached on the back. And we've got a flat piece of ribbon across the front. Now this whole piece can now get attached to our card front. And again, I'm going to use my liquid glue for that. Okay, there we go. And just stand up to do this so I can get it straight. I do actually prefer, I do most of my stamping standing. I really need to get a new desk that allows me to do all of my stamping standing. There we go. All right, so that is our card front kind of put together. And put away our glue for now. And we're going to do a little bit more stamping. So again, I'm going to use Memento black ink. This time though, I am using it with the awesome Sunshine and Waves image that we've got. So just ink that up with my Memento black. And then I love this because it's so easy to line up. I'm just going to stamp that in the center of my circle. And you don't even need to make sure it's straight because you can straighten it later, right? It's a circle. So with that done, I'm going to move that out of the way. We're going to grab our light lemon lolly. I am going to use the paintbrush tip of our light lemon lolly and color in the whole sun. Okay, just like that. And then I am going to use our dark lemon lolly and the fine tip to color all the rays. And so not being super fancy here, just really quickly adding color to each of those rays. There we go. All right, so I don't know if I mentioned already, I don't think I did. We are featuring the Bright and Beautiful 6x6 DSP on this card, but what's even more exciting than that is the fact that it's on sale 15% off for the whole month of June. So if you don't have the Bright and Beautiful Designer Series paper, or even any of the other papers that you've had your eye on in our catalog, now is a fantastic time to grab them because they are on sale. Okay, so for the next part, for coloring our wave, I'm going to grab actually the paintbrush tip of our light Lost Lagoon, and I'm going to paintbrush. So I'm not actually coloring the whole wave. I am just paintbrushing the lines on it because I want to keep that surf, that foamy part there, all nice and white. And I don't want our wave to be too dark. Okay, and that's all that I'm doing to it. I'm not adding any other color, nothing. A desk that's electrical. Oh, I have seen those. Yeah, I'm really curious to see. I found one at IKEA, but I didn't like the quality of it. It wasn't stable enough for my liking because stamping, you are kind of smashing things, well, not smashing things around, but you are like applying some pressure to your desktop and all that. And so I didn't like how wiggly the one at IKEA was, but I figured somewhere out there's probably a better built one that would be stable. Yeah, the electrics are definitely on my radar. All right, so here we go. Just cutting up the edges of my dimensionals because I use every last bit of my dimensionals. So I've used up all my dimensionals on this sheet, but now the borders still come in really handy and can still be used. Sometimes I leave them whole and use them for like creating edging to do like a shaker card or something. But more often than not, I just cut them up and use them as though they were dimensionals. So 4 dimensionals on there. I am avoiding kind of what would be the center of this so that it's not on top of my ribbon when I put this down. Now, the only kind of trick to putting this onto our card front is you want to make sure to keep it on the card front and not over top of our words. That's all there is to that. Oh, wow. Oh, maybe you can send me the info about that one, or if you bought it online, a link or what store, because yeah, I'm definitely looking for a standing desk. All right. And then with our extra piece of ribbon, I've literally just tied a knot. If you want to get all fancy and tie a bow, go for it. I just kind of wasn't in the mood. And so I just did a little knot. And I think it keeps it kind of simple and a little, you know, ocean rusticy. And you can see my knots went different ways on the two different cards. It's all good. Just a knot however you want. And this is, oh, I should have told you about this. This is new Lost Lagoon 1/4 inch bordered ribbon. Let's see if I can get you guys a good view of it with some light. So it's really nice. It's like, I don't know, it's got a nice border on the edge, but it's got nice stitching there for the ribbon itself. The color's gorgeous, and it really works nicely. Like it's stiff enough to hold a shape, but it's not so stiff that you feel like it's trouble to work with. I'm trying to think what other ribbon it reminds me of, but it really doesn't. Maybe like almost like a grosgrain, but a little bit softer. Yeah. So we're nearly finished. Last step is to add some gems, and I am using the Tinsel Gems 3-pack. There's also a Tinsel Gems 4-pack that has some of our other new colors in it, but we're using the Tinsel Gem 3-pack. And I'm going to grab kind of the greenish ones. And I think I might actually change up how I did my gems, because on my original, I just did 2 at the top and 1 down at the bottom, but I think I'm going to switch that up and do it the other way around, actually. Doesn't really matter. It's whatever you're wanting to do that day. So that is our first card, and it's bright but soft. Just such a warm card. So there you go. That's our first one. Our second card, again, has a super beachy feel. I mean, obviously I'm using, you know, beachy images, but also just the colors and everything. Super beachy, super relaxed. The Designer Series paper are 2 that you've probably seen all over the internet, but I flipped them over, and I'm using this nice watercolor layered side, and just 2 little strips of it. It kind of just reminded me of the ocean, of the tide. It's just soft and beautiful. So I did cut at 4.5, so I kept the lighter pieces. I cut at 4.5 before I cut my 1-inch strips. So I took off kind of this darker section. If you don't want it to fade off into white, do it the other way. Cut 4.5 up this way, and then you'll only have the darker pieces. I really wanted the lighter bits though. So that is how I cut both the green and the blue. And this one goes together like a dream, like so quick and easy. And yeah, just a lovely card. So a thick white card base. Grab my bone folder, give that a little score. And for this one, we just get right in there gluing stuff down. So we have a crumb cake base here, and it's been embossed with that kind of sketchy one from the 3D Basics, or Basics 3D. So the whole thing's been embossed with that. Just thought it had like a nice sand look to it. Not quite as beautifully raked as, say, a Mexico beach first thing in the morning, but still that same kind of idea. Oh, my glue is almost out on me. I might have to switch over. All right, so we're going to glue this down. And then I actually am going to switch over to my Seal Plus. And just, I'm not even really gluing these very well. Let's see, I'll start with my green one. I'm just going to do, you could do Seal or Seal Plus, whatever you prefer. I just like how Seal Plus comes off the roller, because it's almost like segmented. And then we're going to pop this on. You want equal borders top and bottom, and then just a small border on the side. All right, and then we've got our blue one. And same thing, put our adhesive on the back. And now this one just gets lined up and give it a nice little border between the two pieces as well. There we go. All right, you can see how quickly this card is coming together. Oh, those raked beaches. Oh, I know. I need a trip. I need a vacation. Almost there, almost near the end of the school year. So we're going to grab our cute little seashells, ink them up in Memento Basic Black, and then we're going to stamp them. And again, this one, it doesn't matter where you actually stamp it to start, as long as you stamp it along the edge of your circle, because then we can twist it and make it straight however you want it to be before we stamp our sentiment. Now, I've stamped my sentiment in Lost Lagoon. If you don't have Lost Lagoon, grab any of your blues, greens, whatever. And there we go. So I just turned it so that it's kind of curving up the side. When you put this on now, your thank you is what you're going to kind of line up and make straight. Okay. So now we get to color these guys. And that's really where our whole palette comes in, almost. I think almost the whole palette. So I started with my Lost Lagoon, and I did one of my little sea stars in Lost Lagoon. Not going to do too much Lost Lagoon on here, though. And then I did grab kind of the darker one and the fine tip just to go over those little pieces on the inside. There we go. All right. Then I grabbed my Balmy Blue. I did use a lot of Balmy Blue. I thought it was a nice way to kind of pull in the green and the blue together. All right. And I kind of did every second shell in light Balmy Blue. Okay. And then I took the fine tip end of my dark Balmy Blue and just went over all those little accent lines on it. And just like that, just adding a little bit of depth to those guys. All right, so it's all very soft colors. Don't go over it too much. We don't want it too dark. Then I'm from the coast. Starfish or purple, orange, or pink. So here we go. Not really a pink I'd normally see, but I liked it. It's my favorite pink, and it keeps it nice and light. And again, after I've done the paintbrush tip, I'm going to go with my darker one with the fine tip and add in some darker color just on the spots there. All right, and then we're going to grab the ivory from our bronze and ivory, use the paintbrush tip to color in these shells. Now these shells do need just a tad bit of color to them. I'm going to let you choose if you use blue or pink. I actually used the light Bubble Bath, and I used that to do kind of the accents on the shell. Just to add that depth to it and to add a little bit of color to it. All right, and then finally our bronze, I use the fine tip end to give our sand all around these little guys just a tad bit of color. There we go. So I think we used everything except for Lemon Lolly on this one. Now, before we attach this to our card front, I'm actually going to take our little piece of ribbon and fold it. And actually, before I even glue it down, I'm going to trim my ends. So I want them on some nice little angles. There we go. And then you have a few choices. You could use mini glue dots. You could use a dimensional to hold it in place. I'm going to use a piece of tape. Plain and simple Scotch tape. So grab my ribbon, fold it in half so that it kind of creates like a little V. Decide where I want my little V. And when I'm happy with it, I'm going to flip it over and tape it in place. Okay, now it's not going anywhere. It's exactly where I want it, how I want it, and we don't need to worry. And then I'm going to find those dimensionals again, put some on the back, and pop this onto our card front. So I'll just throw those on kind of wherever. These ones don't really matter. We're not trying to avoid a ribbon or pop it up on one side but not the other, nothing like that. Just throw some on the back and away we go. All right, and then pull this in, and when I put this down, I just wanted to make sure my thank you is straight and my circle covered both strips of paper. Okay, and then we finish it off with some gems, and this time I used some blue ones to really pull in the blue in our paper and in our seashells. There we go. And that's our second card all done. So just really nice soft colors and a nice beachy feel to it. Okay. And finally, last one, a little bit of party time. We get a little bit brighter on this one. And that beautiful, my favorite, bubble bath pink again. And so here we are using kind of the brighter sides. We've got this awesome confetti sheet and then the stripes. Now you will notice that this one goes from blue to pink or from blue to berry burst, and this one goes from dark to light. So when you look at the papers, just use your circle punches to punch out the section that you like. I tried to keep it all purple tones in our kits and kind of somewhere in the center for our circles. And then the other side, there's the same paper I used in green and blue, but in berry burst. And then this one's just a gorgeous azure afternoon watercolor wash. So beautiful as well. So mix and match. Hard to decide which side of the paper to use. So here we go. We're going to pull out all of our stuff here. You're going to get your circles pre-cut. So you don't need to have the punches, but the 1 3/4 and 2-inch punches are two other punches that we have available as part of our online. So the 2 3/8 punch is in the catalog bundled with our circle sayings, but then the 1 3/4 and 2-inch punches are part of our online only offering. So we've got those pieces. We've got a little piece of DSP, and I'm going to show you a little trick to creating our cupcake with that. And then we've got our circle. And the first thing we're going to do, though, is you want to find your 2 pieces of white and look at them. You want to find there's 2 sizes. Oh, hi, Lynn. So you want to take the bigger one right away and glue it inside your card. That way it's out of the way and you don't accidentally stamp on it instead of the one that you're supposed to be stamping on when we design our card. So take the larger of the 2 basic whites and glue it right into your smoky slate card base, like right away, and get it out of the way. Okay. Spread some of this around. We're running out of glue. All right. There. So pop that into our card. Voila. Awesome. Okay, so with that inside, we're going to move all of our other pieces out of the way, and we're going to bring in just that smaller basic white piece. Oh, thank you so much. And now I'm going to grab my happy birthday sentiment. Yeah, there it is. And some bubble bath ink. And this might be nerve-wracking to some of you. I actually find this particular sentiment very easy to use, though. And I'm actually not even going to start like at the top or anything. I'm starting right in the middle. And I'm going to stamp my happy birthday all up the side. and then down the side. Okay, because that happy is so straight, and actually the bottom of the word birthday is quite straight as well, I find it very easy to stamp it. Now you can see it wasn't perfect, kind of like swayed around. It's all good. If you don't like it, I'm actually thinking I was a little too off on that one, you can flip it over and go for it again. Okay, I'll try a different technique this time. We're going to start at the bottom. And I'm going to pay more attention to where my Y is along the side. I think that's what made it look not great, was my Y kind of went all over the place. So I'm paying attention to the Y on the side. There we go. We got our happy birthday stamped up and down. I like that a lot better. That worked out better. So pay attention to your Y on the side. So that's done. We can actually glue that together to our bubble bath layer and then to our card front. So we're going to grab some glue and just glue away. And it's lovely that we have multiple sides to our cardstock. Okay, you could also grab a tool, you know, use any kind of tools that you have for keeping that straight. I'm just way too lazy for that. I have all the tools known to man, all the tools that you could possibly use to stamp that straight. And, you know, they sit in drawers. Okay. It is, after all, a handmade card. It shouldn't be perfect. It didn't come off a printing press. Okay. Just enough glue, I think, to finish this card. Come on. There we go. So we've got all those layers added on. The Bubble Bath and Smoky Slate, I think, is one of my favorite color combos right now. I created a card earlier this week using the Bubble Bath and Smoky Slate as well. Just love it. So we've got that. Now we're going to take our two circles. Well, actually, we're going to take our other circle as well. We're going to kind of lay them out here and see, well, how do I want them? Okay, that looks nice to me. And then I'm going to kind of hold those two. Oh, no, sorry, that one's got to go back. I'm going to hold those two in place while I pull this one out and put some dry adhesive on the back. I want this to stick fast and stick firm. All right. And then I'm going to tuck that back where I wanted it. Actually, I think I want to move this up a bit. Okay. Then this little guy gets some adhesive on the back. Now, do look at how you're positioning your stripes. How do you want them? What's appealing to you? For some reason, I really wanted my stripes going in this direction. And then that one we won't attach yet. Okay, so now we can put that off to the side and grab our Memento black ink again. This time we're grabbing the Celebrate circle. Now, when you stamp this, it doesn't matter how you stamp it, but when we stamp our cupcake, it matters. So I'll show you that. So to start with, just make sure that that's centered on your circle and stamp it. Now, before we stamp our cupcake on here, though, we want to make sure that our Celebrate is at the top. Okay, if you just kind of willy-nilly go and stamp this cupcake onto this circle, and then your sentiments are all kind of like sort of off this, it's going to look not as appealing. So I've put that dot at the bottom, the B at the top, and when I stamp my cupcake in here, the top of my cupcake is lining up under that B. There we go. So now it gives it a much nicer kind of like straight look to it. Now, before we finish up, I'm going to grab, and actually I've done such a good job of not making my desktop dirty, I'm going to grab a scrap paper as well. I'm going to grab that little piece of DSP that we had, and I'm going to re-ink my cupcake. And actually this piece is big enough, I can probably get two out of it, so I'm actually going to turn this sideways and do that. I'm stamping just the bottom of my cupcake onto my DSP. So I just have a cupcake base, not a whole cupcake. And now I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm going to cut it out as close to that black line as possible, but keeping the black line. Okay, so now that I'm going to save for another card because it's big enough for another cupcake base. And I'm going to finish up my fussy cutting. Now you don't want to leave anything on the outside of your black line. Definitely cut all the way in on that black line. And if you do lose some of it, it's okay, because our image that's already stamped here will save the day. Okay. But do not leave any border outside of your black lines. That's for sure. Okay, so this is a little tedious, this part here at the top of the cupcake, because it's a lot of the up and down of that crinkle. But it's not hard, it's just repetitive. Here we go, just about done. There. So we've got our cupcake base done now. So just like you can buy those fancy cupcake liners, well, we've just gone ahead and created ourselves a fancy cupcake liner with a little pattern. You could do this with any patterned paper. It's called paper piecing. And so you can do this, like I've seen it done when you're stamping a woman with a dress. You can stamp her dress and cut it out. So I just wanted my cupcake to have a little bit of a fancy cupcake liner. And I also want fancy icing. Nothing like a beautiful pink icing. So I'm just going to come in here and give my icing a little color with my light bubble bath. And then I am going to give it a little bit of highlight with the thin tip of my dark bubble bath. There we go. So not much, just a tiny, tiny splash of color. And then this piece gets glued down. You can use liquid glue. I'm almost out, so I'm going to use my seal. Oops. And attach that. Now, liquid glue does make this easier because you don't have to line it up perfectly the first time, although this one's really not that hard to line up. Okay, there we go. So we put our cupcake liner on there. So now we have the fancy cupcake. I know, it just makes, like, it just adds that little extra. Now this piece is going to go onto our card front with dimensionals. And again, we don't need to fuss about where we're putting the dimensionals on this one because we're not going over any weird layers or anything. So I'm just going to use up the last of them on my sheet here. Peel off those backings and pop this down. So now just make sure your cupcake goes on straight. That's the only trick here. So just like that. Okay. And then we grab our tinsel gems again, and we have a little bit of fun decorating. Okay, and again, I'm not doing this exactly the way I did it on my last one because this didn't go onto my card exactly like it did on my last one. This one actually, I think, went on a bit better because I can have a little bit more fun and play with some different spacing. All right, so there we have our finished third card. So I'm going to bring all of them back onto the screen so you can see. There's a really light but bright, fun colored card class that we've got here for you. So you'll get enough stuff to make 6 cards, the 2 of each of the 3 designs, when you place a $60 order with me using my host code, and all that information is in the description of this video. And then with a $70 order, you'll actually get a pack of the tinsel gems thrown in. So you'll have those. So in your kit, you'll get your little bits of ribbon, you'll get all your bits of DSP, you'll get your pre-cut circles and cardstock and embossed and everything. But what you won't get is the stamp set, the circle punch to make more cards, and you won't get your tinsel gems. You'll just decorate with whatever embellishments you would like, unless you place that $70 order. Oh, Nancy, you know what? You do need this stamp set. I love it because it's got all the sentiments kind of covered. So you've got your thank yous, your birthdays, your hellos, your thinking of you. Like you could even make, a beautiful like sympathy card, sending you a warm hello. It's just perfect. It's like a great all around every purpose kind of stamp set. You've even got flowers for those of you who love flowers. I have used them. They're beautiful. Just not on this card class. Sorry. So yeah, it's a great one. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you want the PDF for this and the make and takes, then read up all the information and place your order with me to get your make and take and your PDF. And that is my card class for the week. There was a little bit of other cards shown already this week using this stamp set. I've had so much fun playing with it, and we'll keep playing with it. So I'm sure you'll see it again. And have a wonderful day. It's a little bit cloudy here, but not rainy yet. So I'm going to go off for a little bike ride before it starts to pour. And you guys have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone. Oh, and don't forget about that paper sale. It's on till June 30th.